Hello and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello, everyone, and welcome my special guest for today, Elizabeth Ssemanda. Elizabeth is a board-certified psychiatrist, medical intuitive, and pioneer in holistic mental health. She became disillusioned with conventional models that focused primarily on symptom management and founded a business called U Psychiatry to focus on deeper roots of emotional and psychological distress. Drawing on her training in medical intuition, mediumship, intuition therapy, and herbal medicine, alongside a PhD in clinical trials epidemiology from Johns Hopkins, and experience with Cochrane Collaboration, Elizabeth blends scientific rigor with intuitive insight to help individuals move beyond disease and truly embody wellness. Her guiding mission is simple but transformative: bring the soul back to psychiatry. She also has a podcast called Stepping into Soul Power, where she and her guests share practices and insights to help listeners reconnect with their souls and nurture whole person well-being. She also supervises nurse practitioners, mentors medical students, and early career psychiatrists. And she has enough time to spend time with us today. So welcome, Elizabeth. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. And I'd like everyone to know I have not had the pleasure yet of meeting you in person, but I have a feeling that that may happen.
So putting it out there.
Absolutely. And I found you um, through a connection with someone who I had spoken to because I had met him on a summit. So it was one of those friend of a friend kind of a things. He put us together. And I am so grateful that he did, because I don't know about you, but the minute I met you, I felt like a magnetic connection, like, oh, this is a person that I feel so comfortable with. And so I'm just so excited to share your messaging with this audience today.
Likewise. I am honestly in awe of everything that you've done and the mission that you have. And I think beautiful things happen when people come together, and I feel that way with you.
Oh, thank you. So, where should we start? What do you want people to know about you, or what's going on, or what's on your mind lately, so that we can kind of jump in and have people get a sense of where we're heading?
I am I feel like we're living in a really interesting time where things look chaotic and feel chaotic to a lot of people, and it's in chaos. It's where things are a little topsy turvy, where there's a lot of opportunity to have meaningful change, and um, and so for me, uh, part of what I'm really interested in is empowerment and moving past. I live in the world of, as a psychiatrist, I live in the world of allopathic medicine, and at times the way that medicine is being practiced is very kind of uh, not as collaborative as it should be. right? Not as empowering as it should be. And I'm interested in really uh, changing the approach, more collaborative with patients, more collaborative between not only patients and practitioners, but across like practitioners and the wellness healers as
Mhm.
well. And 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 so I am really I guess this part of my mission is to connect, um, to share what I know, because I feel like there are definitely people who will never see a psychiatrist or a therapist, and so spreading the message in new and innovative ways that people can relate to is really important to me, and and really working on strengthening connections with people um, across different areas. And that's part of the reason why I started my podcast.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, getting the message out. I think you're right that people go, people often fall into two camps, generally speaking. And one of them is to get help when they're already like 90% of the way through a really bad problem,
Yes.
like a crisis moment. And that's fine and good that they're getting the care that they need, but oftentimes the problems are so deep-seated and have been there for so long that it's hard to in the moment kind of like dial back 80% of where they are. You know, you do crisis management, but not necessarily preventative or deeper work. Not you, but just in general. And the other is that people sometimes go without even realizing that they can get help or that they should, or that help is possible, or to know how to access it or to have access to it. So I really like what you're saying about getting the message out in different ways because not everyone has access financially and other ways to the tools that you have, you know, that are available. And so thank you for doing the podcast. And I'm hoping to help promote that messaging with you, you know, and to be part of that community that gets these messages out to people. So thank you for that dedication. Does that land for you, those kind of two ideas of being so far deep into the problem or really not even having access to help?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think that um, well, I mean, the way that medicine is practiced right now, it is very much we're focused on just putting out fires, right? And we're not thinking ahead. And I think that's how we practice and how why a lot of people seek us out, like they wait to the last minute. Um, and access is also a very real problem, especially now. I think that there have been cuts across the board. Like a lot of people have lost their jobs. I'm not sure what the situation has been, what your experience has been like, but I know quite a few people who like just patients who are telling me they no longer have employment and they have to figure it out. And unfortunately, in the United States, employment is uh, is largely attached to having insurance, and and so they're in a can be in a tough spot. And then there are also been a lot of changes to the things that are like our safeguards, like Medicaid, um, Medicare, and so people are in a tough spot, and so I'm trying to be what I'd love to I want to be strategic and thoughtful and you know, innovative and really think about, okay, well, what can we do? How can we work with people, present information, collaborate so that um, people get what they need?
Yeah. Yeah, and a podcast is a great step towards that. There's other things that people can do collaboratively to care providers and community members. I remember long ago when I was in grad school, there was an innovative public policy kind of idea, which was to decentralize care in the school districts. And so
Mm.
to have like a one-stop shopping where you have access to medical care, to other forms of, let's say, government, offices and stuff set up at the school or near the school districts, like so that parents could come when they're getting their kids or walk to a close area where a lot of public service aspects were there for them. I remember when I was a kid that we had like bookmobiles, you know,
Ooh.
and dental too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that I remember like the little like vans coming onto the campus and parking, and then they'd set up with the little stairs walking in, and they would have a library or a dental clinic that would come to the school. So things like that that are relatively simple. It's a matter of coordinating and having the interest, and the saying yes to it rather than saying no, like this
Mhm.
can't be done or people won't be interested or we're too busy or there's not enough funding, mobile units. So getting innovative with how care is delivered, and so education, access, and follow-up, I think are kind of, I'm taking out my public policy hat.
Yeah.
So I like that the podcast is one way and there's so many other ways. So it's possible that our conversation right now is setting the wheels spinning for someone else who's listening and saying, "Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Maybe I could be involved," or, "Oh, that's right. This is here. Maybe I can share that information with someone else." So I'm hoping
Yeah.
that we'll be inspiring people.
I hope so too. I hope so too. And I think we are being called to be, to step up to the plate,
Yes.
all of us. So if you're out there and you've got ideas, take a step today, connect with someone, let other people know your thoughts. You never know what will happen, um, when you set the intention and you take aligned action.
Yeah. And I think that we are possibly redefining what underserved population means because the needle is moving in terms of where privilege and access are landing. There's communities that have been conventionally underserved, and then there are new communities that are maybe for the first time or for the first time in a long time becoming more underserved. For a variety of reasons, and not just economically, but emotionally and spiritually in lots of ways. But I also think that at the same time, we are coming up with new ways of connecting because we've
Yeah.
been relying on certain institutions, and providers that are fast dissolving and disappearing. And so we're having to get creative on how to connect to the things that we need. And I know that you're a medical intuitive, which we haven't exactly spoken about yet. And so do you use your intuitive abilities for kind of seeking out new patterns, connections, and things like this? I for sure with your clients, but what about like in a larger way? Do you go there as well?
I I mean I'm always using it, to help me navigate my path. So yes, I do that. Um, I think that there are people who I really love. There's someone by the name of Jeffrey Allen. He's really great. I feel like he's associated with Mind Valley. Um,
Okay.
but he's he has this exercise. I feel like I took one of his courses
Uh-huh.
where you get into a really deep meditative state, and and in that state you I guess in your mind, travel to whatever time, right? Whatever timeline, and kind of see like what it would look like. And so I've gotten in the habit of using that exercise to help kind of guide me in how I navigate my future, and it's been particularly helpful.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think I can see him with curly hair.
Yes,
When
yeah.
you mentioned his name, I didn't recognize it at first, but I've seen like reels and stuff from him. Yeah, and he's how beautiful. And so, do you try to direct with an intention what it is you're seeking? Because I could see someone who's, let's say, worried about the future and they do that, and then like a nightmare comes in, like, oh no, you know, like some negative fantasy about the
Oh,
future.
okay. So, and this is the really important thing. I think it's really, if you're going to do something like that, I feel like emotions are really, especially things like fear, doubt, can kind of tamper things. So it's really important if you're going to do an exercise like that, where you're going to travel into a timeline or something like that, then you've got to get in a good feeling state. And that's why when I say getting in a, for me, getting in a meditative state, I if I sit long enough, fear, doubt, all those things will dissolve,
Hmm.
and then I can really trust what I see. But it is really important to be able to sit with and manage emotions, especially fear and doubt.
Wonderful. Thank you for that tip. That I'm glad I asked about it. Because, yeah, because people kind of can think, oh, I'm not intuitive, I can't time travel. But I'm like, but do you worry about the future? And they're like, all the time. And I'm like, and is it real for you? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, you're doing it. You're just doing it with a negative flavor. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to kind of condition yourself to kind of know how to get out of that negative mindset. Because, like the example I gave with the 90% waiting till your problems are like crazy intense, sometimes people don't use their intuitive senses until they're really at a crisis moment. And then they're so riled up and so worried that it's hard to kind of get into that neutral space.
Uh, you know, getting out of that, especially if that has been your life, that's um, waiting until until you're in crisis mode. It can be really hard to um, move past that. But I think that in many ways we are creators of our own reality, and it starts with just trying, and the more you try to have a better handle over your anxiety, over doubt, the more you make progress. Trying is progress.
Yep. And for those who are listening but can't see the video, you have a beautiful backdrop and with the word love prominently featured. And to me, that's the connection is through the heart with love. When I can drop into my heart space and connect to love, it's like whole worlds open up.
Yeah.
And it only takes a moment to get there, but it can shift the whole story.
I'm a huge believer in that. I feel like uh, you're right that the heart is the portal to so many different. There's a lot of wisdom there, and then intuitively, if you want to go places, it's a great space to be. And I found as a psychiatrist, especially working with people who have trauma or anxiety, that helping them dissolve like some of the a heart wall or the blocks there, and get into that space can be incredibly healing, and just a way to really change how they look at things, and when they change within, like everything outside of them starts to change.
Totally. I totally agree with that. And it's kind of counterintuitive because we get so mystified by the outside world and we don't think we have power over it. Why do these bad things keep happening? Why am I getting so triggered and so on? But the key is inside because that's all we have control over anyway, is our own
Absolutely.
perceptions. Yeah.
Absolutely. I I think that and I feel like I've thought about this a lot, but I think that there is an epidemic of lack of love of self in I mean globally, but in the United States too. And I think that there's a lot of messaging where we are told that we're not enough, or you got to change, and then and so I think the more that we can start really tapping into the heart space, and then just realizing just how magnificent we are, what a beautiful spirit we we what a beautiful spirit we have, and just all the beautiful gifts that we have been given in this lifetime. Um, the more that we'll be able to really live a life that is fulfilling and is in alignment um, with what our inner self truly wants.
Thank you for that. I agree. And have you found ways to help people who maybe haven't connected to that before? So it sounds like you're talking about a fantasy.
Yes, I think that part of what needs to, when people have difficulty connecting with the heart space, I think that many times they have been either in a fight or flight mode, right? So finding different techniques of helping people activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So that there's like a polyvagal theory out there. And so doing different somatic exercises, or even doing things like even qigong can be helpful. And I've done those with participants. So moving towards a parasympathetic um, state where you're more relaxed has
Hmm.
been helpful in helping people start to connect. And then the other thing that I found to be particularly helpful is hypnotherapy.
Okay.
And yeah, because I think that sometimes, I mean, people come in and um, it may take there are definitely some things that are aching, calling, crying to be talked about, but there might be fear, whatever, stopping them from really having that conversation. There are things that are in the subconscious, and so I feel like, at least for me, I think um, for people who have difficulty really verbalizing uh, their needs, I think sometimes hypnotherapy can be particularly helpful in getting to that space.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's great. I don't remember knowing that, about the hypnosis, but that's wonderful. That because what I have found too is that people might have that, like you said, so poignantly deep, aching messages want to like come through, but there's that fear of like, last time I did this, I got burned, or can I trust myself or the other person I'm with? And so when people start to relax, sometimes the very first thing that comes out is that fear and panic and
Yeah.
urgency and confusion. And so they aren't able to get into the calm state. Like the calm state is a threatening thing. And so I like the idea of using hypnosis to kind of bypass. It's like creating a different way for the water to flow, like around an obstacle rather than straight at it, and getting nowhere. And so then there's more possibilities that can open up.
A lot of interesting things can happen when people are in that state, and yeah, there is. I know within psychiatry, it's a little, people have people a lot of opinions about hypnotherapy,
Okay.
but I I found it to be helpful.
It's where Freud started.
Yeah.
And in the new age, if that's what you're into, that's where Brian Weiss connected to transpersonal realm. by doing hypnosis with his patient and saying, go back to the origin of where this problem started. And she went to a different lifetime. He's like, what's going on? He was such a skeptic for all of this. So there's so many rich stories about using hypnosis and opening up different ways of knowing, and then the rich information that comes through. So, how have you found a use for medical intuition and maybe hypnosis too in helping people unlock areas that were inaccessible before? Do you have some things that come to mind?
I think if people are, I'll premise this that I think that we're all intuitive. Everyone is intuitive. We're always getting intuitive information. I think that, and then I'll also say this, that I have a practice for medical intuition where I just do that, right? And that's different than my psychiatry practice.
Okay.
But I will say this. What's beautiful about medical intuition is that, at least what I've found, is it's that many times when you set the right intention and you do a scan, you get information that's more important, relevant, faster than how it would be like the typical way that we'd receive it, like as a psychiatrist, right? I have to go through a whole rack of questions. But with medical intuition, it's like, okay, hold on. I see problem number one, problem number two, problem number three. So for me, I found it to be incredibly efficient. And what really um, changed things for me, or was incredibly meaningful to me, is like someone, when I did a medical intuitive session with someone, and they basically said, wow, you just summed up 22 years of therapy in uh, in 10 minutes. And and then that just, I was like, oh wow. Um, it really, I just thought about, because it's a first of all, it's a lot to it's a lot to struggle with things like depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and carrying those things for that long is just so heavy. And so being able to pinpoint, hey, this is what's going on, and having an idea of the root cause why is, I feel like it is transformational. And and so I feel like there's a lot of potential if we could use medical intuition in within within our medical system, allopathic medical system. There is so much potential for really, really helping patients and saving time and heartache.
You have a respectful two different disciplines that you keep for
Yeah,
various reasons, and I'm sure legal and ethical reasons.
yeah.
Right. But is there a way to combine them that respects all of that? Because, like, if I was your patient, I would be like, let's get to the quick and accurate, like, let's do that, and then, like, figure out our game plan. Like, why would I spend 7 hours interviewing with you if I can figure it out in 10 minutes?
So that is where there is an opportunity. Like that's why I feel like we're living in a really interesting time. If we're able to do that um, legally, like there. So right now, so that is not the standard of care, right? So we have to practice according to the standard of care. That's not the standard of care.
Mhm.
Um, I think that there's so much potential with that, but it's not the standard of care. So we've got, and that's also why I have a podcast, right? So we can talk about things like this, or I am on this podcast, so we can talk about, hey, there's another way of diagnosing, of receiving information that can be particularly helpful to people,
Hmm.
and things need to change or should change, um, but doing it in a way that is legal, is really important, legal and ethical.
Yeah.
Um,
I see that. And yet still, let's take, so I really respect how you have been very responsible and professional in separating these things. But on the micro level, in the day to day, people use their intuition all the time in making decisions, including um, in a medical setting. Because sometimes, let's say you only have a minute to choose between five different options. Many people are going to use their gut or their intuition, or maybe they aren't even knowing why they're choosing the one thing over the other four. They could say it's reason, experience, and so on. But I think if you dig deeper, there's an intuitive element.
so you're absolutely right that, like, even within medicine, that we use our intuition. That's so true. Yes, it's just I think it's not the standard of care to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do an energetic scan of you, and really relax and receive information. That's not the standard of care. But like if I get intuitive hits about like, hey, I should, I wonder, I need to check this or need to check that. Like I use that all the time within my medical practice. It's
Yeah.
just like having a really standardized way of like, hey, I'm going to scan the body and do that.
Yeah, so like a more formal assessment. Maybe there will be a way one day when an option for an assessment when someone first meets you is to have, let's say, a 20-minute intuitive scan in addition to the standard approaches of collecting history and doing labs and, so on. And checking out the physical body. Um, or maybe integrating them together, like while you're doing a physical exam, then you get an intuitive hit in the moment. Like, did you have an injury in your right shoulder? I didn't see it in your history, but I'm getting a sense from your body that something's up? So it becomes like an inquiry kind of woven in to the standard care. So at some point, maybe they won't be so distinct from each other, but weaving in together. But I so appreciate that you're keeping the door open to both.
That's the dream. That's what I wish I could do legally right now. It's just like, hey, let's go. Let's go. I'm just going to start talking, and I'm going to give you information, and then you can kind of let me know how you feel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that is the dream. That's what I would love to see. I think that unfortunately the way that medicine is practiced right now, so we go there and we learn all of these things. We memorize a ton of stuff, um, but I really feel like we've got to start. Um, when someone comes and says that they want to be a physician, right? That first of all, number one thing that I would recommend is like, well, do you know who you are, right? Because because like really help people understand who they are on a mental and on an emotional, on a spiritual level, because that's going to help them be better practitioners. Period. The other thing I think, do you understand who you are and your strengths? Because we all come to this world with gifts. Like I've met amazing practitioners. I like, for instance, I was in Best Buy and somehow ran into a medical student who has a photographic memory, right? But things like that are not cultivated in like in our the way that allopathic medicine is taught. But what if your intuitive skills could be, right? What if that could be part of the curriculum? What's the potential there? And so um, I have a lot of hope for the future. Um, and I think if we like this conversation is important because we're just putting it out there in the world, and maybe someone will hear
I
and
love
think
it. Yeah.
about maybe someone will hear and think about that. But really cultivating our strengths, our intuitive senses,
Mhm.
um, understanding who we are, um, and 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 the other thing that I would say is cultivating what I'd love to see is the connection, the way that we connect with ourselves and with other people. I would love to really see that within their communication skills, but I feel like we don't really teach people about how do you connect with you, like we teach practitioners. So, and I feel like if we could do incorporate those things to help people who are aspiring to be healers or medical doctors, whatever, it would really change the experience for the practitioner and then also for people that they're helping.
I love it. Yeah, it's getting back to the roots of the human connection. As we get more into technology, I appreciate what you're saying that the medical sciences have moved away from the human connection as much as being the center stage to being more about knowledge and memorization and technology and accuracy and in things that are based in science and what we think we know. But the self knowledge, I mean, isn't that the thing? Know yourself first. And that
Yeah.
when you can bring that and the authentic relationship of what's magical about you and I in this moment that will never be recreated again, but is so powerful, if we can pull on that and what our strengths are, it takes it to a whole nother level. Then
Yeah.
it's not just about problem solving, it's about really having a unique, catalytic connection that can be incredibly deep and creative and can solve those problems that you came in for originally. So it's so much richer. So thank you for bringing that like heart and soul back to the conversation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I just like I said, I work with different practitioners and I just feel it's just so there's such a disconnection. It's I feel like it's very mechanical. The way that I see quite a few people in our field practicing medicine, and I think we got to change.
Well, thank you for contributing to that. And people will be gravitating towards you because of that. They may not even know that that was what they were lacking. Um, I remember hearing about a lot of medical professionals and nursing individuals have a lot of health problems. Like, why are the healers so sick? You know what I mean? And it was partly because, well, for lots of things, sometimes people who already are compromised go into the field of healing because they have their own healing that they need to do for themselves. So they're already weighted towards maybe more compromised health problems, but also because of the cutoff of mind, body, spirit. And
Yeah,
so we get into these like if the logic will show me what to do, or the probabilities will show me what to do, or the pharmaceuticals will show me what to do. And you have to remember what we started off with was being empowered within yourself and forgetting that. And when you bring that in, it changes everything. It changes the whole dynamic of what you're about and what you're here to learn and how you're able to maybe access in a more elegant or faster or more complete way what the true answers are. And they often have to do with going back to the heart.
absolutely, absolutely. I think um, really getting back to the heart space and engaging our spirit as we do the job is going to make it not only a much more fulfilling experience for us, but for patients too. So yeah, I am, I'm hopeful for the future. I am. I think conversations like this will be really helpful. And then the other thing I might add is because you asked the question like why are all these people sick? I think people um, a lot of practitioners will take home, there's this sense of responsibility and will take home other people's problems. And there isn't, like I try and talk about this with people that I work with, like other practitioners, is they don't have a system for letting go, like letting, not taking on other people. You can help people, help them through the crisis, but like, you don't have to keep all their stuff with you for always. There's got to be a process for letting go.
Yeah. Yes, because a lot of healers are really good at absorbing. And then the patient or client feels so much better. They dumped all their stuff. But then, yeah, taking it in, I had to learn that lesson, and I still do because I tend to be an absorber as well. And I wasn't trained into how to let go or that it was even important. People would say, take care of yourself, but I didn't really have a method or a way. And my body started really being very vocal towards me about, like, you cannot do this any longer. And I tried things, but until I learned energy practices, like you mentioned, Qigong. I
Yeah.
used to do yoga as a teenager, so I had a little bit, and that was in a time when it wasn't really known so much in the US. But yeah, until I learned energy practices, I didn't have a way of really connecting to that. Because, so you sleep in or you take a bath, but it wasn't the same. I needed to connect to the subtle energy pathways to learn how to, let go and stuff. So everyone finds their own way of what works for them, but there needs to be an awareness that it's needed. And, we wash our
Yes.
hands maybe in between seeing people, which is kind of a bridge to that, but it's not enough.
Yeah, yeah. I think, um, yeah, we wash our hands between, but it's not, we're doing it to think about the intention that's set, right? It's like, oh, I just want to get these germs off, or whatever. I don't know. Um, but letting go of all the emotion, like especially in psychiatry, can be so heavy.
Yeah.
So letting go of all the emotional, all the letting go of that.
Yeah.
I think setting that intention is so important.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together today. I know we could talk about many more things. I love this idea of creating a new model for the future. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we say goodbye for today?
I think that what I'd like to say is that people like you as an individual are incredibly important. I feel like sometimes we um, may feel insignificant, but something that you do, something that you say can really impact other people. And so it's so important now more than ever for you to be authentically you. Um, I think that it's easy to um, fall into a place where you kind of go with the crowd, but you're here on this planet, and there's something wonderful about you, and the people who need to find you, who are looking for you, can only find you if you're being yourself. So I'm going to put that plug in.
I love it. It's like broadcasting your unique signature really loud and
Yes,
proud.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for so many pieces of wisdom and for walking the path that you have in your life so that you can be here at this point and help be one of those links for other people. It's really quite admirable.
Thank you for having me on, and I am just in awe of what you're doing, and really excited to see what the future brings.
Yes, me too. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's podcast.
If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.